When people think about the collapse of empires, they imagine enemies pressing against the walls, legions falling apart, or emperors being killed on their thrones. But empires do not fall by attacks alone. They rot from within. And one of the most powerful forces accelerating that decay has always been money. For example, the Roman Empire did not collapse solely because of invasions or bad rulers. It disappeared because its economy collapsed. And the lessons drawn from that collapse remain relevant for every modern state that believes it can corrupt money without facing the consequences. Close your eyes and imagine. For centuries, the backbone of the Roman economy was a silver coin called the denarius. First minted around 211 BC, this coin was almost entirely silver and was unquestionably accepted throughout the empire, and even beyond it. Roman soldiers received their wages in these coins. Merchants always preferred them first. Ordinary people tried to store their savings in them. The denarius was not an ordinary silver coin. It was a pure symbol of trust cast into metal. It was one of the strongest representations of imperial power. People's trust in Rome was largely reflected in these coins, but sustaining an empire is far more demanding than it appears. Legions had to be paid, roads and aqueducts had to be built, and wars had to be funded. By the 2nd century AD, things began to grow difficult in Rome. On one front, wars were fought against Germanic tribes, and in the east against the Parthians, while unrest grew louder within. Taxes collected under the system known as a nona could no longer keep up with military expenditures. The emperors then turned to an ancient and fatal mistake, debasing the currency. Instead of collecting more taxes from citizens, they reduced the silver content of the denarius. Numbers never lie. During the reign of Emperor Augustus, the denarius was about 95% silver. In the first quarter of the 3rd century under Emperor Caracalla, this fell to 50%. By the 2nd quarter of the 3rd century, during the reign of Emperor Gallienus, the silver content had already dropped below 5%. The coin that was once nearly pure silver had become nothing more than a bronze piece coated with silver. The public felt it, and the inevitable followed. Inflation began. Where money no longer had real value, prices skyrocketed. Items once purchased with a single denarius now required dozens. This was not an economic theory. It was a reality that destroyed the lives of Roman citizens. Legions, seeing rising living costs, demanded higher wages. Merchants refused to accept debased coins and preferred barter or gold instead. Local economies returned to direct exchange because trust in money had collapsed. As trust declined, emperors responded by further devaluing the currency. They hoped that more money would work better than valuable money. This marked the first steps toward an unavoidable dead end. It was also the same cycle repeated in countless inflationary crises throughout history. This crisis reached its peak during what is known as the crisis of the 3rd century. Between AD 235 and 284, Rome endured nearly 50 years of chaos. Invasions, pandemics, internal conflicts, and economic collapse followed one another. Emperors ascended the throne at incredible speed and fell just as quickly. Some were executed within months, others within days. Behind the political failures stood a ruined financial system. Taxes continued to rise. Farmers abandoned their lands under the crushing burden. Trade came to a near halt. The Roman Empire took desperate actions to keep the system alive. Price controls, mandatory labor requirements. None of it restored the empire's former strength. In AD 301, Emperor Diocletian tried to stop the bleeding. He issued the edict on maximum prices, fixing the prices of thousands of goods and services. The penalty for violating these rules was death. The edict was a disaster. When money is this worthless, prices cannot be controlled by decree. The black market exploded. Official trade almost completely disappeared. People quickly realized one truth: a law cannot restore value to a currency that has already collapsed. Eventually, Rome abandoned the denarius entirely. Around AD 312, Constantine the Great introduced the solidus, minted from pure gold. This currency remained stable for centuries in the Eastern Roman, Byzantine Empire. But by then, Western Rome had already suffered fatal blows. The debasement of the denarius had emptied Rome's treasury. Armies were no longer sustainable. Trade had collapsed. Trust no longer existed. The fall of Rome was not a single event. It was a long historical process, and the collapse of the economy was one of its most painful stages. So what lesson should we draw today? The collapse of an economy is always the collapse of an empire. Rome believed it could deceive its people with coins that looked the same but held less value. Modern governments believe they can do the same by printing money, manipulating interest rates, or inflating away debt. But the result never changes. The people suffer, wealth disappears, trust collapses. Rome paid a heavy price, and if we continue to ignore the warning, so will we. History never stopped with Rome. Every major inflationary period since has followed the same script. States manipulate money to cover costs. Elites protect themselves with real assets. Ordinary people lose whatever they have left. Rome is the clearest and most powerful example of this collapse. When we reach the 20th century, history repeats itself. After World War I, Germany was crushed under the heavy terms of the Treaty of Versailles. The government printed money to pay its debts, just as Rome once minted more coins. By 1923, hyperinflation had become unstoppable. A loaf of bread that cost 1 mark before the war reached 200 billion marks by the end of that year. People carried wages by weight. As in Rome, debtors erased their obligations, while those who already owned assets became even stronger. Money turned into worthless paper, and this economic desperation fueled the political extremism that led to Hitler's rise. Once again, a government believed it could escape by destroying its currency. And once again, the people paid the price. But you do not need to look only at extreme cases. Even in modern economic systems today, the Roman model continues. Take the United States. In 1971, President Richard Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard. The final link between money and tangible value was broken. The dollar became fiat money, backed not by gold, but by trust in the state. And just like Rome, spending based on non-existent value began. Debt grew uncontrollably. Money supply reached unimaginable levels. Inflation hovered like a predator, breathing down the economy's neck. We may not see wheelbarrows of cash, but we see purchasing power vanish. $1 in 1971 equals more than $6 today. The money looks the same. The banknotes are the same. But the value is gone. Governments present inflation as economic growth. They highlight rising wages while hiding faster rising costs. They disguise debt as investment and act as if everything is improving, just like Roman emperors once did. Yet silently, value disappears from every coin, every banknote, every paycheck. What makes today dangerous is that the entire global system is connected. Rome's collapse stayed within imperial borders, but today the world runs on fiat currencies, unpayable debts, and central banks ready to flood markets with money at the first sign of crisis. That means the next collapse will spread instantly across the globe. And those who will suffer will not be the wealthy elite, but millions living on wages, shrinking pensions, and weakening currencies. So what lessons should you, as an individual, take from this story? First, inflation is not a mistake. It is a choice, a silent poison that has destroyed empires for 2,000 years. Second, real value is not paper money backed by governments. When money fails, only labor remains. Third, nothing is immortal. Romans of the first century would have laughed if told their money would become worthless metal. Germans in 1913 mocked the idea of wheelbarrows of cash. But every time the same story repeats. Rome's collapse proves this clearly. Financial systems fail slowly, then suddenly when trust disappears. When money stops reflecting real value, trade collapses, armies dissolve, and states lose legitimacy. Enemies may break down the gates, but the real killer is always inside the economy. And the final truth is this: history does not repeat itself exactly, but if you fail to understand it, it will destroy you. Rome did not fall only because of bad emperors or greed, and this was never just about Rome. If this narrative gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History always shows the truth. Whether we choose to understand it is entirely up to us.